First and foremost, I want to give all of the praises and the glory to the Most High and His Son, Yahweh Bashmiel Shai, Bahashem Warakak Wadash, and double honors to the elder apostles of the great millstone that have taught me this truth through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashmiel Shai and Yahweh Bashmiel Shai Brakatham to the elect as well. And it's your brother Laban. Now, what I want to address in this video here is Bishop Nathaniel once again. I'm going over the 8th chapter, primarily beginning with verse 23 and onwards, as he breaks down totally wrong once again, because he went into this about a year and a half ago, but he's speaking about it right now, associating it with DJ Trump when it has nothing to do with DJ Trump in this time whatsoever. So without further ado, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play this video and we're going to go over this to correct what he walked of this chapter over here. So let's get right into it.
8. Let me look at it. Who's reading for me?
Officer Yuri, sir.
Officer Yuri. Officer Yuri. Let me see if I want it. Then let me look.
And I'm pretty damn certain that he doesn't really know Daniel's 8th chapter, man. He's just winging it, as he usually does. He just wings the precepts.
Yeah, let's read Daniel 8, 23 and 24. I'm going to start there before I go into
Daniel chapter 8 and verse 23. And in the latter time of their kingdom, when the transgressors are come to the full, a king of fierce countenance.
This king of fierce countenance is the white man.
And understanding dark sentences.
Understanding dark sentences, they search out iniquities. Go ahead.
Shall stand up.
And all of that is speaking about Antiochus Epiphanes. He would be the fierce king which would stand up. Go on.
Power shall be mighty, but not by his own power.
Not by his own power, because Satan gives him his power, his technology, his science. Go ahead.
And he shall destroy one.
Let's play this again. We're gonna play this correctly.
8. Let me look at it. Who's reading for me?
Officer Yuri, sir.
Officer Yuri. Officer Yuri. Let me see if I want it. Then let me look. Yeah, let's read Daniel 8, 23 and 24. I'm going to start there before I go into
Daniel chapter 8 and verse 23. And in the latter time of their kingdom, when the transgressors are come to the full, a king of fierce countenance.
This king of fierce countenance is the white man.
And understanding dark sentences.
Understanding dark sentences, they search out iniquities. Go ahead.
Shall stand up. And his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power.
Not by his own power, because Satan gives him his power, his technology, his science. Go ahead.
And he shall destroy wonderfully, and shall prosper and practice.
Yeah, so now let's deal with that right there. Daniel's 8 and verse 23, and we're gonna break this down correctly. So as this reads, Daniel's 8 and verse 23, and in the latter times of their kingdom, which is the Greeks, when the transgressors are come to the full, a king of fierce countenance and understanding dark sentences shall stand up. So again, this is referring to Antiochus Epiphanes. He would be the fierce king which would take the stand. All right. And understanding dark sentences, because these devils were very well known to deceiving people, saying one thing and doing another thing, or speaking a riddle that most of the Israelites wouldn't understand, and he would use those riddles against them. All right. Now, when you look up that word dark sentences as well, it's from the Hebrew word chayad, which means a riddle, difficult questions, parable, enigmatic saying or question, or perplexing saying or question. It's just like right now, like sometimes these devils, they'll give a speech. Could very well be your various politicians, and they'll use these $1 million words that you don't even know about. And, by those words, they're able to basically, get the upper hand with swaying you because of these $1 million words. And as well as if you're simple, you obviously take heed and trust in their saying because, they sound so eloquent in speech. All right. And they're coming with these hard to understand riddles. And also, it could also mean double dealing, which the term double dealing means to, profess something that you really ain't about. And then afterwards, you do something different than what you profess, which, just to shortly put it, saying one thing and doing another thing. All right. As we have the definition over here, suggests treachery or at least action contrary to a professed attitude. And this is what Antiochus Epiphanes did when he came across the Israelites in verse 30. First Maccabees 1 and verse 30, as this reads. So this reads, he spake peaceable words unto them, but all was deceit. For when they had given him credence, in other words, belief, he fell suddenly upon the city and smote it very sore and destroyed much of Israel. So when the Israelites believed in his sayings and agreed with his sayings, he went behind their back with treachery and spoiled the city. Okay, what comes to mind? Psalms 55 and verse 21. Let's go and get that real quick. Psalms 55 and verse 21. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were salted in oil, yet were they drawn swords. And that's exactly what Antiochus Epiphanes was about. He spoke softly to the Israelites, and then what did he express? What was already in his heart, which was war against the Israelites. Because he had an agenda, and his agenda was to take down the temple, to destroy it, and invite idolatry into all of that. And that's what they agreed with, okay? And that's what it meant in the verse of, Daniel 28 and verse 24. So let me play some more of this video, and let's see what he says on that verse.
Destroy the mighty and the holy people.
So now, I want to pause right there.
He doesn't know it. That's why he has to pause.
Read on.
And through his policy also, he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand.
Yeah, so now he's going over 25, right? So let's back up and let's read verse 24. And his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. Why? Because when you go into the history of Antiochus Epiphanes, he ruled in Syria. Okay? He ruled in Syria, and his kingdom was in Syria. So guess what? He would have had Syrian military. So that's the power that he fought with. And the mighty that it's talking about, let's read this again. Right? And his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. And he shall destroy wonderfully, which he did the Israelites, and shall prosper in practice, and shall destroy the mighty and the holy people. So who was the mighty that he went to destroy first? Let's go and read this. Let's read, let's go up a couple of verses and let's read about that, the mighty. Who was the mighty that he destroyed? And we'll begin by reading, 16. Now, when the kingdom was established before Antiochus, he thought to reign over Egypt, that he might have the dominion of 2 realms. Wherefore he entered into Egypt with a great multitude, with chariots and elephants and horsemen and a great navy, and made war against Ptolemy, king of Egypt. Right? But Ptolemy was afraid of him and fled, and many were wounded to death. Thus they got the strong cities in the land of Egypt, and he took the spoils thereof. And after that, Antiochus had smitten Egypt, he returned again in 143rd year and went up against Israel and Jerusalem with a great multitude. So that's basically Daniel's 8 and 24 in a nutshell. Again, let's read it. And his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power, because he was warring with those Syrians. That was his power. And he shall destroy wonderfully, which he did, and shall prosper in practice. So what would be the thing that he would prosper in practice? Let's read it. First Maccabees, and we will read verse so where it reads, when he prospered, meaning he took all of the spoils of the people who he conquered. He took the spoils of Egypt, and he also took the spoils of the Israelites. And he practiced what? Idolatry. In verse, 41? In verse 41, as this reads, moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people, and everyone should leave his laws. So all of the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. So, yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion. So that was the practice. And what was his religion? And sacrifice unto idols and profane the Sabbaths. For the king had sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah, that they should follow the strange laws of the land, and forbid burnt offerings and sacrifices and drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbaths and festival days, and pollute the sanctuary and holy people, and set up altars and groves and chapels of idols, and sacrifice swine's flesh, an unclean beast. Okay, so that was the practice, is to withdraw the Israelites from their holy customs to partake into defiled customs, which would defile the people. All right. And you had Israelites that actually sold out to this idea. So that's what it meant in verse, 24. And he shall destroy wonderfully and shall prosper. He took the spoils and practiced. What did he practice? Idolatry. And shall destroy the mighty, which is Ptolemy, which was the king of Egypt at that time, and the holy people. And he did all of that. Okay. And through his policy also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand. So let's look up this word craft. So I believe the word is marama, deceit, treachery. Yeah, which goes into even the word double dealing, because that's what he did. He deceived those people. He spoke words to deceive the Israelites. So his craftiness prospered him. So as it reads, and he shall magnify himself in his heart. Matter of fact, let me back up a little bit. Let me allow the general to break it down, and then we'll see what happens from there.
Shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many.
Right. And what is he going to do ultimately? Watch the next verse.
He shall also stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hand.
This is the kingdom. This is the nation that will stand up to try to fight the Son of God, Jesus Christ. And is going to be broken miserably.
Yeah, that's not talking about that. That's not talking about in this day and age where Esau is going to fight the Lord. That ain't talking about that. Again, you got to go back to that history. Okay. So now let me read this, and we're gonna break this down correctly. And through his policy also he shall cause craft to prosper. In other words, his deception in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart. And what did he say? He called himself Epiphanes, which means one who was like the Most High. Excuse me, meaning God is with us. That's what he said. God is with us. And by peace shall destroy many. Again, First Maccabees 1:30. And he shall also stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hand. Yeah, because he came up against Judah Maccabees and his army. But he shall be broken without hand. So now let's go and get that, which is also mentioned in the book of Second Maccabees, the 9th chapter, because he died of a gruesome disease with worms coming out of his gut. And about that time came Antiochus with dishonor out of the country of Persia, for he had entered the city called Persepolis, and went about to rob the temple, and to hold the city, and whereupon the multitude running to defend themselves with their weapons to put them to flight. And so it happened that Antiochus being put to flight of the inhabitants returned with shame. Now when he came to Ecbatane, now was brought him what had happened unto Nicanor and Timotheus, which is in verse 24 to 30 to verse 34 in 2 Maccabees 8. So let's read about that real quick, and we're going to get to the point. So as this reads, and by the help of the Almighty, they slew above 9,000 of their enemies, and wounded and maimed the most part of Nicanor's host, and so put all to flight. And this was Alazar in this case, which I believe Alazar, which means God's help, or something that's had equivalent, right? Or it could just mean help. So that's what happened. And then we go to what? Verse 34. And as for that most ungracious Nicanor, who brought 1,000 merchants to buy the Jews, he was through the help of the Lord brought down by them, of whom he made least account, in putting of his glorious apparel and discharging his company. He came like a fugitive servant through the midlands unto Antioch, having very great dishonor, for that his host was destroyed. So that's what the news was that he heard. All right, so now let's read what Daniels was saying in verse 25, where it mentions that he, let me go back and read it again, that he shall be broken without hand. There you go. So let's go and read that. So anyway, then swelling with anger, he thought to avenge upon the Jews the disgrace done unto him by those that made him flee. Therefore commanded he his chariotmen to drive without ceasing, and to dispatch the journey. The judgment of the Most High now followed him, for he had spoken proudly in this sort, that he would come to Jerusalem and make it a common burying place of the Jews. But the Lord Almighty, the God of Israel, smote him with an incurable and invisible plague, or as soon as he had spoken these words, a pain of the bowels that was remediless came upon him, and sore torments of the inner parts, and that most justly, for he had tormented other men's bowels with many and strange torments. Howbeit he nothing at all ceased from his bragging, but still was filled with pride, breathing out a fire in his rage against the Jews, and commanding to haste the journey. But it came to pass that he fell down from his chariot, carried violently, so that having a sore fall, all the members of his body were much pain. So he was pained all over the place. All right. That was the judgment of Yahweh Bashmi Al-Shai for coming up against the Israelites. So even though so hold on, wait there. And thus he that a little afore thought he might command the waves of the sea, so proud was he beyond the condition of man, and weigh the high mountains in a balance, was now cast on the ground and carried in an horse litter, showing forth unto all the manifest power of God. So the true power stroking with a disease, and now he understood that, as it reads, right? Let me see if I can find that part where he says, oh yeah, verse 12. So then it reads right here. Oh, no, verse 11. Matter of fact, you know what? I tell you what. Let me just read the whole thing from verse 9 and I'll get to the point. So that the worms rose up out of the body of this wicked man. And while he lived in sorrow and pain, his flesh fell away. And the filthiness of his smell was noisome to all his army. Oh, God. And the man that thought a little afore he could reach to the stars of heaven, no man could endure to carry for his intolerable stink. Here, therefore, being plagued, he began to leave off of his great pride and to come to the knowledge of himself by the scourge of the Most High. His pain increased in every moment. And when he himself could not abide his own smell, he said these words, it is meet to be subject unto God. And that a man that is mortal should not proudly think of himself if he were the Most High. So that's what happened, man. That was the judgment. All right, because he intended to go before the Jews and, of course, pursue against Judah Maccabees and his men, and so that didn't happen because he heard word got out that his men, the Conan's men and Timothy's men, they were all put to flight because of people like Alazar and Judah Maccabees. So that didn't go too well with him at all. So yeah, that's basically the point right there. So now we're gonna go and read. We're gonna go back to Daniel's 8 and verse 26, and the vision of the evening and the morning, which was told, is true. And wherefore shut thou up the vision, for it shall be for many days. And that's all we got. That's it. That's the breakdown for the book of Daniel's from verse 23 to verse 26.